Hi, I'm Heather Ranson, and we're here at Deuce Gym in Venice, California. We're going to go for a CrossFit class, which I'm a little nervous. I'm new to this, so bear with me. We're going to meet Amy Bauer in here. She's a vegan CrossFit female, super fierce, super awesome. She's going to dump all her knowledge onto us about being a vegan. So let's go check it out. With my friend Amy Bauer. Say hi.
Hi.
So I wanted to interview and bring Amy into this because she is a vegan and
The V word, I know.
the V word. She's one of those. So we just finished this awesome CrossFit class and she's a hardcore girl, tough as nails.
I try.
And so I just wanted to bring her into this and ask her some questions about how she got started on that path and what that means for her. And how do you start on that path? And what is that lifestyle like?
So I guess how I started, so I always say that I did it the wrong way because in college I was, liberal arts school. I was like, I want to save the world, save the environment. So I just started reading everything I could get my hands on about the environmental side of veganism, and I went vegan for probably about 6 months in college, but I did, the buffet, college buffet, French fries, vegan pizza. So it was not the healthiest diet, plus a lot of beer. It's not the best for you.
Cheat meal, vegan.
Oh yeah, exactly. So I did that and I just wasn't feeling great and I really missed burgers and I probably was nutrient deficient. So I went back to eating meat for a few years and then a couple years in transitioned back to vegetarian, and then about 2 years ago, 2.5 at this point, I read the book called Eating Animals. It's by Jonathan Safran Foer. I always mispronounce his last name. And it just sort of brought back the flood of, it's very easy to suppress things that you learn and go along with culture, and everyone eats meat and cheese and you get sucked back into that. And that book sort of opened my eyes. I was like, why am I doing this again? And I just...
So what is the book about?
It's just about, so he just sort of explores why we eat some animals, have some animals for pets, get really outraged that other countries, there's the Yulin Dog Festival, and people eat dogs in some countries. And so why we are so outraged about that, and then we're,
But we eat
cows, chickens, and fish. So I sort of went back to it. My husband, thankfully, was on board, so it makes cooking a lot easier. Thank you, Christian. And then, so I always say it's a threefold, environment, ethical, and health. The health benefits are just pretty incredible, so that's...
So tell me the environmental aspect of what inspired you to become vegan.
So most of the animals raised in this country obviously are for human consumption, and they use such an enormous amount of resources. I think it's something don't hold me to the statistics. Grains, alfalfa. So we're in a drought in California. So most of the produce or the crops grown are to feed livestock, and cows especially emit methane. It's like cow farts, cow burps. And methane directly contributes to greenhouse gases. So, and there's always the argument, it's well, if we didn't eat the animals, then they'd just take over the world. It's no, we just wouldn't breed them anymore. We wouldn't kill hundreds of millions of, so it's very resource intensive. And then there's some really great documentaries on, I'll send them to you.
So this was just inspired
Yeah.
around the college age. You didn't grow up this way.
No.
You weren't exposed to this through your family.
No,
or...
oh God, no. I
Where
come
did
from
you grow up?
the middle Massachusetts, a pretty rural area. Very meat and potatoes. We'd
Farm.
Oh yeah, exactly. I grew up down the street from a farm, and I just remembered this. The people who lived across the street from us were big hunters, and they would bring home like a deer and give like venison to our family, and I didn't even think about it. I didn't equate that like, oh, Bambi, like
it makes me think of like Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah, basically it's pretty rural. It's middle of nowhere, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And then college just sort of opened my eyes.
Who was your Eskimo in college? Who was that person that opened your...
So there was a book called The China Study by T. Colin Campbell, which was, I would say, the most influential book that I read. And that was actually referred to me by an ex-boyfriend from high school. Long story. But he was like, you should read this book. I think you'd be interested in it. I said, okay. And he grew up in the same area I did, like Irish, meat potatoes. And he went vegan. I was like, oh, if he can do it, like, why can't I? So that was like the first book that I read that really resonated with me. It's about T. Colin Campbell, this doctor, went to China and basically did 20 years worth of research, and the research showed that the sort of diseases of plenty, like heart disease, diabetes, high cholesterol, were pretty much non-existent in areas of China where meat and animal product consumption was the lowest. So it's very, there are tons of statistics and like pages and pages of research.
So in
and it's a pretty direct correlation.
Areas, there's a higher risk of
heart disease, diabetes, cancer. Yeah, it's like a pretty direct correlation. And there was even, and I might butcher this too, but it was sort of like they could turn on and off this switch basically, like if they would increase animal product intake in lab animals, they would develop certain forms of cancer, and as soon as they dialed that back, it stopped and it would sort of reverse. So they showed that they could reverse heart disease, reverse type 2 diabetes, not type 1 diabetes. And it's pretty astonishing, like black and white research, and you just read it. And the China Study, you should read it. It's so, it's incredible. So I, tried to. I was a little preachy at first, and I tried to make my parents read it. I was like, you have to do this, and I mean, my dad had a triple bypass, and my mom actually passed away from cancer about 5 years ago. So just having that, I was like, this. So that was sort of a catalyst for me to make a change too, because I saw a disease in my family. I was like, I want to be as healthy as I can for as long as I can. So,
So when you were in college, you did this for like 6 months, and then off the wagon.
Off the wagon, yep.
So how has it been since you've kind of come back? What was that transition like? Where
did you
start?
Honestly, it was pretty easy. Like you hear that, and people who eat like you were saying meat for a lot of meals and cheese, and you can't even fathom it. But
okay, so what's for breakfast?
Okay, so for breakfast this morning I had, it sort of changes every day, but this morning I had a huge smoothie. So I just put, can I swear, like a shit ton of spinach, like so much spinach, an ungodly amount, like 3 giant handfuls of spinach, a scoop of peanut butter, so I was out of like soy milk or almond milk, so I just took about like a 1/4 cup of cashews and some water, and you could like make your own cashew milk, a frozen banana, and then a bit of protein powder, like it's like a rice pea hemp protein powder, blend it up. It was so good. It's so good, and it's so filling. Yeah. Sure. I had that at like 8. Yeah.
Wow. How many times a day do you sit down and eat, or do you just graze?
I try to do a breakfast. I do like 3 square meals. I'll do a breakfast, like a smoothie. Sometimes I'll do like a tempeh, like tofu scramble, with a bunch of veggies, and then lunch is usually just like a huge salad with like a kitchen sink salad, like everything I have, like beans, tempeh, like edamame, anything I have.
That sounds fun.
And then dinner, what am I gonna do for dinner? Oh, tonight we're doing this mac and cheese. It is mac and cheese.
What?
Yeah, it's with
How do you do mac and
it's like a
cheese
cashew cream.
Oh.
It is the best recipe ever. Okay, you have to Google garlic mac and cheese from Minimalist Baker.
Okay.
It is so good. It has like roasted garlic, and there's like a cashew cream. Wow. It is so good. And then I add like some peas and broccoli to it, so it feels healthy. But you can still have like an indulgent, like creamy mac and cheese.
That sounds so perfect.
Yeah, it's really good. But But then I'll just do like grain bowls with veggies and a protein, and usually it's pretty simple. A lot of times people think you need like crazy ingredients and like, oh, you have to do this meal that takes 5 hours to prepare. I'm so lazy when it comes to food.
It doesn't sound lazy. I mean, that sounds
it's
fantastic.
Yeah, I guess. I like cooking, but it's not like super involved. But there are a couple good cookbooks that I'll tell you too if you are so inclined.
Simplify
Mm-hmm.
and just have one staple that you can grab and go as like a meal supplement.
Okay.
In your fridge, like you make, let's say on a Sunday and a Wednesday, you make a bulk batch of
Okay.
something to grab and go.
So I think, I always have, I would say like a big batch of quinoa, because you can do it hot and then you can do it leftover and you can just throw anything on it, and
like
it's pretty,
raisins
and I'm not gluten-free, but I do try to like stay away from like refined carbs because I just feel like puffy and kind of gross. So that's great, and it's, just like, it's like a slug. So I'll do that, and it's very filling, and a lot of, you were sort of talking about like a protein concern. There are a lot of, pretty much like every plant-based food has protein in it. So I think a cup of quinoa has about 8 grams of protein, and you don't need a ton, and if you just eat like a well-balanced diet, it adds up over the day. So I never count protein intake ever. I think I did once just for shits and giggles. Quinoa, I'll go to Trader Joe's and just get like bags of edamame like out of the pod, because that's a really quick, like you just steam it. You just like have a couple of spoonfuls. You can spork it.
So when you were going through the process of transitioning from meat and potatoes girl to vegan, like how did you transition without freaking out? I'm a meat and potatoes girl. I grew up in the Central Valley farm town, Fresno, and tri-tip burgers,
all that stuff.
Trying to conceptualize getting away from that and this mark over here.
Yeah.
Get from here to there.
I think I would say a lot of people have different stances on this. I think that there are so many great meat alternative products out in the market, like so many. Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's Gardein chicken nuggets, which like if you, I don't know, it's like a quick little, you can throw it on like a rice bowl. So those are good. Oh my gosh, what else do I usually have? There are some Dr. Prager's veggie burgers are really good. So sort of substituting. My favorite. Field roast sausages or hot dogs or burgers. Field roast is like my favorite brand of like meat alternatives, and the flavors are so good, and you get that same like, you feel like you're having a hot dog or like a burger. And I think once you do like the first week or so, you know that feeling after you have like a big burger or like a steak? Like it's good when you're eating it, but you just feel like you want to go to sleep for 5 hours, and I don't want to say never because you can still like overeat, but I can't remember the last time I felt like tired or like gross after a meal.
You are so Miss Sunshine. Like
Thank you. Thank you.
Everything is just like glowing.
Thank you. I will say I noticed the biggest like physical changes once I cut out dairy. I would always like break out, and I just felt like puffy and gross.
Stuffy and stuff.
So stuffy. Every morning I was like, I must just have allergies. And I stopped eating. I was eating like an ungodly amount of cheese. Like I would put cheese on pretty much everything. And so that was just like a habit that I broke, and then I felt the changes and said, what? And now I see
the vegan supplement cheese?
Not even really. Sometimes I'll like do Daiya cheese on a pizza, but I think like the cheese on its own is sort of, it's good, but I'm not like I just put it on everything. I mean, there are really great alternatives, but once I don't have that same like urge to just like eat cheese all the time, because when I have it, it's, I don't know, I feel like I was actually addicted to cheese, which is, like you hear people talk about it, like I was a drug addict. Like
needs to go to like a 12-step program.
Yeah, people. If you ask people about cheese, they're like, "Oh my god, like I couldn't live without it. I could never live without cheese." That is the biggest thing you'll hear. Like, "Oh, I could go vegan, but I could never give up cheese." It's like you get addicted to it. It's crazy. I think you can do it.
I'm nervous.
No, you can do it. It'll be fine.
I like that idea of supplementing products that are similar to what I'm already eating, like veggie burger in place of a hamburger. So psychologically, you still feel like you're...
You don't feel deprived. You don't
Yeah.
feel like, oh, I can't. And I would also say, like, sort of changing your mindset. Sometimes I'll go out to dinner with friends and I'll say, like, oh, do you want to go here? Oh, but you can't eat that. And just saying, like, turning can't to don't. Like, you can eat anything you want. You just choose not to.
Yeah.
So just that little, like, mindset shift, I guess. So it's not like, oh,
You're not isolated.
oh,
in
I
this
can't have a
group
hamburger.
over here.
Yeah, it's like I can have a hamburger if I want to. I just choose to
Yeah.
have a veggie burger. So,
That's good news.
yeah.
So we totally bonded over our workout.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
I finally
was,
feel like
on the verge of, you know.
yeah, 13 minutes. I was like, oh God, I'm gonna barf. This
Yeah.
is the day. This is the day it's gonna happen. But I feel great now.
Yeah,
like
me too.
right after, 20 minutes later, you feel
So
great.
now it's probably a good time to like think about what you're gonna eat.
Yes,
next. What
this is the
would you- what's
protein
your
window.
go-to?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So if I hadn't had a smoothie this morning, I'd probably go home and make like a big just protein smoothie. But I don't know. I think I might just do like a big salad or like a tempeh scramble, like a burrito. I don't know. I'm like really hungry. Yeah. Oh yeah.
What's in your burrito?
Ooh, so sometimes I'll do soy rizo, which you get at Trader Joe's, which is so good. And then just like, sometimes I'll do onion, peppers, tomatoes, just like spinach, any veggies, and a ton of salsa. Yeah, hot sauce.
That's
yeah.
your go-to.
Yeah. Yeah, so I might
And
do
some
that.
avocados from your tree.
I know. I don't think it's producing right now. I haven't picked any lately. I know. Usually the squirrels get them, but they haven't been like running around with them lately. So I don't know. It might not be avocado season right now, but.
So speaking of CrossFit, how often are you training?
So I come to Deuce twice a week. I'm new to CrossFit, so I didn't want to like start out too much too soon. But I think in the next month or so, I'm going to bump it up to 3 times a week because I just love it so much. So I do this twice a week, and then I'll run like 3 mornings a week, and then I go to 24-hour fitness, and I'll do maybe like 1 or 2 workouts. Sometimes a spin class.
Yeah.
I go surfing.
With all
I like
that,
have
and
too
there's a
much
lot
to
of
do.
activity.
Yeah, hiking.
And you're a personal trainer,
Mhm.
right? So with all this activity, do you ever feel like you're lethargic and like you're not fueled properly?
Never.
'Cause I think that's one of my concerns too, or a lot of misconception is like if I go vegan, I'm gonna be tired and weak and lethargic all the
Yeah.
time. What's your
No,
take
I
on
think if you feel that way at first, you're just not eating enough. Like meat is so calorie dense that you don't have to eat much of it to feel full.
Yeah.
When you switch to a vegan diet, you like the volume is greater just because you have to fill your stomach up more. So just focusing on that like satiety, and so if you feel a little sluggish, just see, just like write down, oh, how much am I eating? Like it might feel like a lot, but it might not be like calorie wise. But I always feel like pretty chipper. I'm like up at 4:30 in the morning. I usually go to
So
bed
I
at like,
that kind of energy.
yeah, I go to bed at like 10, sometimes 9:30 because I get up so early.
I
But
feel like everybody's looking for that energy like packaged in a perfect bottle, but it
Yeah.
seems like you're...
I saw there was yeah. I don't know. I feel like it was like a drug that you could tell people. It's like you feel healthier, like you lower your risk of disease. You don't like. I didn't set out to like lose weight, but you're naturally like a little leaner.
Yeah.
It's like a pill that you can package, and it would be like the best drug on the planet. It's like I feel great pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, and I never really get sick. Knock on wood.
That's
I always
awesome.
say it. One of the coaches was sick the other day. He was like, "Oh, I don't want to get you sick." I was like, "I don't get sick,
Yeah.
so don't worry."
awesome.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a hard question.
Okay.
If you were to tell somebody who is looking to become vegan, tell them the 3 most important things they need to know about that journey.
So I think I would say number 1 is think about your why. So everybody has a different reason. People come to it from health reasons, environmental reasons, animal rights. So if you can sort of tie it into something that's a little bigger. So when I think about it, I'm like, just doesn't make sense for the planet. So it's sort of like, I might want a burger, but why should that? I don't know. So think about your,
Compromise the alternate.
yeah. So think about your why. So if you feel like you're gonna break, say, no, I can do it. Just like a little willpower at first. And then that why will sort of get you through any humps that you might come to. Number 2, just like experiment. I think if you were vegan like 30 years ago, there'd be like a tofurkey and that's about it. There are so many amazing options for Thanksgiving, for instance, you think like, oh, turkey. They have field roast, again, my favorite company. They have this like celebration roast, and it's like this maple apple sausage wrapped in puff pastry with cranberries. It is so good. I had it at our Thanksgiving last year. Everybody tried it, just like because it looked so good. And you put a little gravy on it, and everyone loved it. So just like experiment, try everything. There's coconut milk ice cream, like so.
You sold me right
Yeah,
there.
so it is so good, and you don't get that like gross feeling after ice cream.
Tell me your top 3 of whatever you think that somebody needs to know who's just starting this journey. What are their top 3 things that they need to know?
Top 3 things. Okay, so I think, and this is what I always come back to, or when I was first starting, I would say think of your why. Think of why you're making this choice. Why? Like, you can just decide to do it one day, but if it's just on a whim, it'll be that much easier to give into temptation if somebody's like, hey, want this like homemade burger?
Yeah.
But if you're doing it for like health reasons or environmental reasons or animal rights, it's a lot easier to sort of see the bigger picture and sort of
Bigger purpose.
Exactly.
Why?
Yeah. So that's my number 1. Number 2, explore all of the amazing, delicious alternatives. There's coconut milk ice cream, which is like to die for. Trader Joe's has it. Trader Joe's is a great like vegan resource.
Okay.
They have everything under the sun. It's so good. Yeah, like hot dogs, hamburgers. So you're not going to feel like you're deprived. You're not.
Vegan hot dogs, vegan hamburgers.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So if everybody's, you're going to a barbecue and you're saying, oh, there's going to be hot dogs everywhere and I won't be able to have one. I just bring my own. I'm like, can you throw these on the grill? And also this sort of goes along with it, but just be confident about it. Don't don't be an asshole, but also don't like say, oh, I'm sorry, like I don't eat meat. Just say like, oh, I actually, brought my own, like, would you mind cooking these? So just be confident about it.
Yeah.
That sort of, I guess, goes with the why.
Own it.
Yeah, own it, exactly. Because people are going to respect it more if you're not like a shrinking daisy about it, like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, don't be apologetic. It's your choice.
Yeah.
And number 3 is a lot of times you might be the only vegan person. Like your friends, I don't really have many vegan friends. My husband's vegan. So try to tap into like the community. There are meetup groups. There's sometimes like vegan restaurants will have resources, or they'll have sort of little communities there. Instagram is good, like Twitter. Just sort of find your tribe. So if things are if you're getting annoyed, like going out to dinner with friends, just like take a step back and you can, yeah, exactly.
That's so important.
Yeah, so I think
I
think anyone could do it. I mean, everyone's different, but I think you should try it. And if it doesn't work, no harm, no foul, but
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much to be gained, and I think you're gonna really thrive. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming
I
on
know.
with
Oh
me.
my gosh, you're welcome. It was so nice to chat with you.
And that's a wrap. So thank you so much for tuning in. There will be more of her along the way. So